Hey, everybody, this week's show is going to be really great. We've got Ed Lemon from Fine Book Fairs in Washington, D.C., and he and his wife, Eve, are running some very smart book and art fairs all along the East Coast. And Lee, I understand that you have a book that would be perfect for this book fair.
I certainly do. Since they have the Friday night reception with a little, a little drinking involved. This book, which is called Tequila Mockingbird, is a book of recipes for cocktails that are based on literary themes. My book club's favorite is called Gone with the Wine. So this might be very helpful to Ed and Eve when they're making their plans.
We'll have to ask him about it. We'll have to ask him
about them. Yes.
Right. And of course, Richard Morey stopping in to say hello. Join us, folks, for another edition of the Rare Book Cafe. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rare Book Cafe, the book lovers rendezvous. And we are rendezvousing as we are every week with my co-host Lee Linn, Ridge Books, Calhoun, Georgia. Hello, Lee.
Good morning, Ed, and good morning, Edward. We're so pleased to have you with us today.
Ed Lemon and his wife Eve run Fine Book Fairs out of Washington, D.C. They've got a fair coming up in early May. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Welcome, Ed.
Well, thank you for having us, and tremendously excited to be here.
We had a chance to look at your website and are fascinated with the whole concept. Tell us a little bit about how your book fairs work, both from an exhibitor's standpoint and from the, from someone who just wants to attend the book fair.
Well, I think as book collectors ourselves, you can see behind some of our collection, we certainly have in mind an experience, an event where people can come, they can enjoy themselves, they can interact with one another, meet booksellers, and create these lasting connections, both for the dealers and for the public. So each of our book fairs opens with an opening night preview party where we offer wine, and we have live music and canapes, and so it becomes a social event where people can come together.
And you have a generous association with the Penn Faulkner Awards.
Yes, so for Washington, and we'd like to try and donate part of the proceeds from that opening night to a local charity that works broadly in literacy. So Penn Faulkner is an award that was established over 50 years ago to reward different authors in the arts, but they also provide a lot of assistance in terms of supporting underprivileged children in literacy programs in the Washington, D.C. area. So we like to also give back to the community. Previously, we gave some of the proceeds to the ABAA Benevolent Fund, for example. So we really want to be good citizens and contribute in that way. From the dealer's perspective, I think our fairs kind of come with kind of an almost all-inclusive experience. We provide them with their lunches. We provide them at some of our fairs with a dinner or in the middle night of the fair. We provide them with complimentary passes as part of the fair, and the booth fee includes kind of the electricity, porters. It's an all-inclusive price except for the glass cases that we work through an external vendor. But other than that, what you pay in terms of registration at the fair will give you everything you need to exhibit.
And so far, you've got 38 vendors lined up.
Just under 38, because some people chose to combine booths. We have a few map dealers, for example, who wanted more space, and so they've combined some of the pre-existing booths. So I think we're going to be about about 35 dealers in Washington from a range of different places, offering a range of different material.
Ed, you and your wife, Eve, are so creative in this venture. Not only are you running the Washington Book Fair, but you also run an art fair.
Yes, so that's in
What
collaboration
a great
with
combination.
On Paper Art, and the Washington, well, the Capital Art Fair, in fact, is the longest running print fair in the country at this point. And so we partnered with them last year to help them promote and bring in younger collectors and move the fair to a new location. It had previously been over in Arlington, but the location was no longer available, so we moved it into the city centre, just steps from the White House, and that's a fair with 16 different print dealers. And so that'll be a month before the book fair, so both in the same space, so I think they can complement one another quite nicely.
And I noticed that your spaces are buildings of importance themselves. So where is the Washington Fair going to be held?
Yeah, I think that's another part of our brand, is to try, where possible, to bring book fairs to interesting historical spaces. So previously, last year, we had it in a tavern dating back to 1796, which is the oldest tavern in DC. It was frequented by Adams and Jefferson and Washington, and some of the other founding fathers. And this year we've moved it to a new downtown location. It's a little bit more accessible, space for more booths, and it's at the University Club that was established by President Taft in the early 20th century, 1903. So again, a building of historic importance, and we feel like these historical spaces complement the kind of material being offered. Obviously in DC, there's a lot of interest in Americana, presidential history of the Supreme Court, and in fact, a number of the Supreme Court justices, for example, are members of the club. Although we will have to see if they show up.
You mentioned the younger collectors. What's the state of that? Are you seeing younger people coming into the market on both the art and the book side?
I think we are. I think there's obviously dealers have probably more data, but in terms of our fairs, we did the fair in Philadelphia in December, and we had a lot of younger people coming through interested in the material. And our view is, even if they're not buying high ticket items, they're getting interested in books, and that can kind of sow seeds that will lead them to become collectors in the longer term. So we're definitely interested in making this welcoming to younger people, because that's ultimately, for the book trade to thrive, of course, we need younger people coming through, taking an interest in material and beginning their own collections. And we certainly have seen very encouraging signs from our fairs so far. I would say over half of the attendees, just anecdotally, are probably under 30 years old or under 40 years old, probably. So we have strong younger person attendance.
Great to hear. Speaking of younger people, look who just joined us, one of your exhibitors. Except he's older than dirt.
No, I actually found some dirt recently, Ed, that is older, but I think it was under your feet.
Welcome, Richard. Richard Morey.
Thank you.
Well, Richard, we noticed that you are an exhibitor for the DC Fair, and that was a very nice picture of you on their website.
Oh, really?
Like
I haven't.
Very professional. Had a nice background with books.
Well, let's not tell people any differently, because I never thought that. But
we don't know where the picture came from, but it was really a nice picture. Well, Edward, how has attendance been? That's always something that as dealers we worry about. Is anybody going to show up for this fair?
Yeah.
And
well, I think our model is to have a very robust budget for promotion. So each of the fairs we've started, with the exception of the Capital Art Fair, something completely new, right? So we didn't have the kind of lists and previous customers to rely on. So we've had to start building up our own following. And so we use a lot of, and this is particularly useful in attracting younger people, Instagram has become a key point. And we can use targeted ads in the local areas to bring people in that way. A lot of people saying they've heard about the fair through Instagram, Facebook, obviously some of the more traditional publications of the book trade, and listings via various websites and trade publications, find books and collectibles, for example, is another way to bring in more people. And I think so far we've had pretty robust attendance, particularly in Philadelphia, where we didn't use a clicker throughout the weekend, but we think somewhere in the region of over 2,000 people were through during the course of the fair. Probably similar figures, slightly lower maybe for some of our other fairs, but certainly attendance so far has been robust, and it's been important to us to have very strong promotion, because that's the way you get people in, and particularly new people who maybe many of them haven't been to book fairs before.
Richard, what are you bringing? You've got some political, historical items, presidential to bring along?
Well, I will have some presidential. I've got a very unusual Jimmy Carter piece signed by Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale. It's the inaugural book from this 1977. Very uncommon to find both of those men's signatures on the same piece of paper. And I'll have a signed Richard Nixon at the moment, and who knows, I might get another Abraham Lincoln by then.
So right now, you're doing fairs in DC. You just had one in Philadelphia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have one scheduled for New York in the fall?
Yeah, in the fall. So
right.
The last weekend in September. So we ran that fair in October last year. And this year we've decided to move it into September so it doesn't conflict with as many things. The calendar gets very compressed at that point in time. It's obviously a struggle, and we try and coordinate with other promoters to try and figure out the best weekend to have things. So we picked that weekend. We're moving it up to a new venue, which is going to be bigger, allow us to have more booths, better lighting, wider aisles. And so that's the Empire State Rare Book Fair that's planned last weekend in September.
So for the benefit of other booksellers who may be watching, we hope, are you still taking applications for any of these fairs?
We are. You can email us at findbookfairs@gmail.com. We've opened up registration about a month ago, and we still have around 2/3 of the booths, maybe a bit fewer remaining, at various different price points. So people can email us, and we can send them a prospectus if we haven't already, because we've been emailing lots of people about our fairs.
So if I could just add a thought on the previous comments about the clientele that's showing up, the younger clientele. I'm gonna give a secret away. It's gonna hurt me financially if I do this, but you're not gonna tell anybody,
for the good of the book world.
Right.
But you're not gonna just between us, right? So the secret, I believe, that's there, and the Philadelphia Fair, I've been very, very pleased with, and the attendance was really strong this past year, but even last year, and I did it last year as well. The secret is you can't always bring all your most expensive books. You have to bring a mid-range of books pricing from $20, $30, $50, $100. Up to even 500 and 1,000. Young people do have money, but they're very, very careful about how they spend it. But if you bring $5,000 and $10,000 books and expect you're going to sell all those to people who are under 40, you're probably going to be disappointed.
And for many of these younger attendees, in fact, the idea of spending $100 to $500 on a book is foreign, very foreign.
Well, I've had some experience, and this event happened in Washington, D.C. When I did one of the antique shows on the Outer Belt. I had a young woman, this a couple of years ago, a young woman came up to me. I had a very expensive fashion book in the like $1,000 more dollars, and she really liked it, and she approached me and she said, "Would you take payments?" And I said, "Why, certainly." And over the course of 6 months, she paid me off, and I sent her the book. She gave me a deposit. There are lots of ways to work with young people if you want to be flexible. And I was very pleased to have sold it to her. She was excited about it, and it went to the right home.
Yeah. Well, in Florida, I had a book that I had had for a good while that a young lady was really interested in. She was a middle school teacher, bless her heart. And we settled on a price, and then she brought her dad over to see the book, and he managed to talk me down another $20. But it was going to someone who really wanted the book. And it was so nice to find that person, you know, who would treasure this book. It was a book of Spencer's poems with a 4-inch painted, that was 4-inch painted.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
she loved both aspects of it. So it, you know, you work with your clients.
Yeah.
Oh, the only thing better than running a book fair, Ed, is exhibiting and selling at book fairs.
Yes, yes.
Well,
I can-
congratulations. It sounds like you are building a wonderful business back there. Before we let you go, you did mention that great library behind you. Is there a favorite book that belongs to you or Eve?
Well, why there is, and it's sitting in front of me, just by chance. This is the first edition, the first printing of Anne of Green Gables in jacket.
Ooh.
And a lovely jacket. Yeah.
Hold it up
Nice,
for
and I think
closer.
this is
Little
one of the
shift.
oldest recorded jackets. There's some debate that my wife knows more about over over which jacket comes first, but this is the first impression from 1908. And this is one of our favorite books, both collectively. In fact, we bonded over this, in fact, on our first date, when we first met, over our collective love of Anne of Green Gables, and we went on our honeymoon to Prince Edward Island. So it's a book that has both practical value and, but more importantly for us, I think, sentimental value. We're always, you know, we're interested in buying books that we want to read, right, and that we're interested in, rather than books that we're going to just put in a safe and leave for many years. That's our, you know, the books in our library are all ones that we have an interest in reading, even though it might be a challenge to read all of them, especially being so busy organizing book fairs, which takes up a lot of our time.
Well, I'll give you a little secret, Ed. When somebody
Two
says
secrets
you
in one
read-
show.
I know, you know, we're gonna
He'll
have to
be
start
bankrupt
charging.
by tomorrow.
We're gonna have to charge it. That's all I can say. But here's the secret: when somebody says to you, "Have you read all those books?" The answer is yes, yes, at least the title.
That is true.
That's good.
I always say I've read I've read all of some of them and some of all of them.
Yeah. Well, and Edward, I have something to show you, since you have said that little alcohol is available at your shows. My daughter-in-law, for my birthday a couple of years ago, gave me this book. It's called Tequila Mockingbird, and it is a book of cocktail recipes based on literary themes. My book club is especially fond of a punch called Gone with the Wine, being here in Georgia, you know, of course. So, and it also has non-alcoholic drinks in it. My grandchildren love a smoothie called the Blizzard of Oz. So anyway, this might be a nice reference for you at some point.
I have a confession that book is sitting in our bar.
Oh my goodness.
In the room next door. Yes. And so
Well,
we've
I'm so
enjoyed some of those
glad.
cocktails.
I'm
And we
so
may make
glad.
one of them in DC for the opening night, our
Display.
opening night preview party for people to enjoy. But I'm not sure. Yes, I guess the one that you've just recommended, Gone with the Wine, might be a good.
Or you can buy a lease copy. It's always good to have two around.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Get
But it's
upgraded.
not for sale. It's not for sale.
All right. Ed Lemon, Fine Book Fairs, Washington, D.C., May 2nd and 3rd. And what's the location? May 2nd and 3rd?
May 3rd to May 5th.
3rd to 5th.
And so 3rd to the 5th, it's at the University Club in Washington, D.C., right in the center on 16th Street, so a few blocks north of the White House, accessible by metro. There's lots of parking nearby. And it'll be Friday night from 5 till 8:30, Saturday from 11 until 6, and Sunday from 11 till 5. So please
And
find
Richard
more
Moore will
information
be
on our
there. I
website.
advise all of you that are
Richard.
younger clientele out there to go by his booth, and he'll be easy to negotiate with.
And who knows what surprises I'll find between now and then.
That's
Exactly.
right.
We've still got 6 weeks. But thank you for
Bye-bye,
having me.
everybody. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.